Hello and welcome to the Stro Show. I'm your host, Alex, and today I'm hosting solo. I really enjoy listening to this opening music here. So today I have a couple topics I want to, or this week I should say, I want to have a couple topics I want to talk about. And the first one is, it looks like, James Garner has passed away. For those of you who don't know who James Garner is, he is from the Rockford Files. He's also in a bunch of different movies, such as The Great Escape. Actually, he did a lot of voice acting also for DC. Let's see here. He played Shazam in a DC showcase, Superman Shazam, Return of Black Adam. He also did, he actually did Shazam in two different showcase collections, it looks like. Which is kind of cool, you know. He was a voice actor in the comic book world. And let's see, what else did he do? Let's see here. He was in a lot of stuff. You know, he was in Maverick. You know, he played Marshall Zane Cooper. There's one I actually happen to notice that not too many people may know about. He played Philip Marlowe in a movie called Marlowe in 1969. Philip Marlowe is an actual, it's like a old-timey private detective. And you know, I thought it was kind of cool that he played that character. It's one of my favorite movies is called The Big Sleep, and Humphrey Bogart played Philip Marlowe in that. So I thought it was pretty cool. That's one of the reasons why I felt the need to talk about James Garner a little bit, because it's in my film inspirations. The Big Sleep is one of my favorite classic flicks. You know, the Big Sleep was filmed or released in 1946, and I thought it was pretty cool. You know, it's like you have this private detective, and he's hired by this rich family, basically to solve a murder. And it's actually a film where he, I believe he actually met the love of his life, Lauren Bacall. But going back to James Garner, you know, he played that same character in another movie, you know, just over 20 years later. You know, so I think that was pretty cool. It's a movie I have not seen. I feel like I have to see it now. And, you know, of course, I'm talking, you know, classic movies. I don't know if Marlowe's black and white. Let's see. Let me see if I can find that out. It looks like it may be. Looks like it's one of those, you know, 60s, gritty looking films. But yeah, it's I thought that was pretty cool, and the fact that the director he uses like a pseudonym. He actually really, or the director's name is Paul Bogart. He isn't related to Humphrey Bogart, at least that I can, from what I can tell. But I thought it was pretty cool that he you know, used that name for directing this movie. It's probably to help kind of get more of a viewership out there because of that whole thing. The director's real name is Paul Bogoff, and I feel like he had to have chosen the name Paul Bogart because of the fact that Humphrey Bogart played the original Philip Marlowe. There might be more behind this, and I could be way off on it. If I am, send me a message, comment on this episode. Let me know that Alex, you're wrong. This is how it really was. This is who Paul Bogart really was, and blah blah blah. Let me know. Yell at me about it. Another name that he ended up using also was Alan Smithy, which I thought was interesting. People in the film world out there, a lot of times when they want to, they'll use a pseudonym for a movie that they may not necessarily like how it's going, or they think it's going to be kind of crappy, instead of using their real name or what their quote stage name would be. Like we all know Tom Cruise, his real name isn't really Tom Cruise, and same thing with Brad Pitt. Those aren't their real names. A lot of people out there may not know this, but a lot of people don't use their real name in the movie world. They use a fake name. Same thing with Nicolas Cage. His last name really isn't Cage. I believe it's Coppola. And but Alan Smithy, a lot of directors, I know at least a couple of indie directors who've made jokes about using the name of Alan Smithy for a movie that they're pretty sure is going to be crappy. It's a pseudonym for, basically, I don't want my name on this, but so it'll be a funny kind of like knockoff kind of thing, saying, "Hey, I'm going to use the name Alan Smithy." I'm not sure if Paul Bogart was the original. He was born in 1919. He may have been the original guy to use Alan Smithy. I would believe it, considering this guy. He just passed away in 2012. Also, it was pretty cool. Finding that out, and that's just from like randomly checking stuff out. I'm like, oh, you find out this one, relatively big named actor, James Garner, passing away, and then you happen to see a movie like, oh, this looks, I know that name, Marlowe, and that's where from there, that's how I discovered all this stuff. Just going through that. And it's funny, just by doing just a little bit of random digging, just finding out more about one person, you find out other things which somehow can kind of connect you. And I thought it was kind of cool. I felt like it was a little inspiring. It made me feel like I wanted to pull out my pen and paper and start writing again a little bit more, like script wise, because I'm an indie filmmaker. Or at least on my any free time I have, I try to be. I haven't really shot anything in a while. That's one thing that John and I, in the RetroFuture podcast, have been talking about trying to get together and shoot some sort of short. It's kind of, this whole thing is kind of inspired me to kind of try to do more of that script writing and try to get more of a story out there. Don't get me wrong, I love what I'm doing with the RetroFuture.com, doing the Stro Show. This is one of my favorite things to do. Whether if I have a co-host or not, I enjoy just sitting here and talking to the mic and just expressing whatever I feel like to you guys. And a lot of people seem to like it, especially now that I did bring my wife on for a couple episodes. She hopes to be back again. She just couldn't make it by the time I wanted to shoot this episode. She couldn't join me. She had prior engagements to work on some other stuff of her own. But I'm going to move on from James Garner. It sucks that he's a pretty big name. I don't really know many people who don't know about like the Rockford Files at the very least. So I think it was he seems like he's someone I think who will be missed in the movie industry, or even heck, entertainment industry. I thought it was pretty cool, and I feel like just because of his death, I went for a nice little roller coaster ride, just discovering things, and I thought that was pretty cool. So the next thing I kind of want to bring up is I was strolling through some, news sites, whatever, and I happened to be on Yahoo News, and I saw this one news article that there was this one guy on Yahoo News, Dan Allen. I don't know, if whoever he is in the Yahoo world, but wrote this article called 10 Unpolitically Correct Museums That Might Offend You. And I understand, a bunch of them that are on there. The first one on this list is the Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia. It's in Big Rapids, Michigan. I don't know why you would create a museum on just racist memorabilia. Like, why would that be a thing? I understand, like, certain things are just old and they should be remembered because not only for like good things that have happened, but there should be bad things that should be remembered so we can avoid having history repeat itself. And I understand that, but I don't think there should be a racist memorabilia museum. How about this? Send it off to a legitimate museum that has a kind of good mixture of things. It doesn't come off kind of as offensive. I know if I happen to be in the area there, that wouldn't be something that would spark my interest enough to go to. I don't know how a place like that could stay open. I feel like that you would have to get a lot of government money to help you help your racist museum to stay open. That's the only thing I can think of. It's government money going toward something that I don't think it should be going to. How about this, you guys? You take all your stuff, send it to a legitimate museum, let them kind of handle it in a more tactful way, in my opinion. I'm not, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. Don't get me wrong, in my opinions of things, but it's really pushing that. I can't think of a single person who would want to go in there because they're really that interested in racist memorabilia. Understand the historical value of anything, good or bad, because as I said earlier, we don't want history repeating itself. It's good for people to know about the bad things that have happened to keep it from happening again. But you can't have you can't be making money off a museum like that. You can't be, and I'm sure it's nonprofit or whatever, but even so, it's like, what a waste of just resources just to keep that thing open. If it's paid for by the government, what a waste of taxpayer money. I don't really know what it goes into. I didn't read too much into this article, so for all I know, there's more that goes into this than the fact that they're showing racist memorabilia. But the fact that the name of it is Jim Crow Museum of Racist Memorabilia tells me that that's what it's all about. I'm not saying there's people who run it racist. I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone. I'm just saying this isn't a good idea. Heck, tell me what you think. Why don't you look it up and let me know what you think of this museum. Comment, send me an email, whatever. It's kind of weird, don't you think? I want to hear what other people think about this, and if you happen to see this, it's on Yahoo News. It's just 10 very 10 unpolitically correct museums that might offend you. All right, so the next one on the list here is there's a Stalin Museum in Georgia. Why do we have a museum of Stalin, about Stalin, in Georgia? It doesn't make sense. It's actually in Gori, Georgia, like Gori, Georgia. Why do we have this in the United States of America? I understand that we are a country of basically we avoid like propaganda and We also we're anti-censorship, or at least we do our best of being anti-censorship in our country. So technically speaking, we should, legally we have to allow for these things to exist. But Stalin, he was a Soviet dictator, Joseph Stalin. He was from Russia. He was a leader of Soviet Russia. And I just don't know why we would have a museum here in the United States of America, not of Russia, of America. If this was in Russia, fine. It makes sense. And I understand even having like a little corner, in a random museum, history books, why we talk about them, like that makes sense. But I don't know why we have a museum all about Stalin right in the United States of America. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But I guess, it is what it is. It's not, I don't know if it's as bad as having a racist memorabilia museum, but it's still pretty bad. I don't know how a place like that, stays open also. I feel like it's a race of resources, whether it be, as I said before, taxpayer resources or whoever's running it. I don't think that could be something that would be, interesting enough to go look at. I'm sure there's some interesting information in there, and how some of the things that happened in World War II and what he did could be interesting to find out, but I'm not sure if I would want to go to just a Stalin museum. I would want to focus more on what was more going on during the era. What was going on with Russia? What were some of the opposing forces too? I'd want to know more information than just the Stalin Museum. And I'm not sure if that was an attempt at a Russian accent or not. That what I just did, but let's just pretend it never happened. So I'm going to move on to the third one on the list, and this one is called the NRA Museum, or the National Firearms Museum. I get this. I understand it. I don't know if it would be the most money making kind of museum. It's all about different guns and firearms. And its vital role in American history and the heroes, of their day. So I understand it. I could see someone going in there being like, let's see the evolution and progress of a firearm. And for all I know, there might even be firearms in there that were used by famous people and stuff like that. I could see some people going there. I don't know, and I know a lot of people in the area where I live in who'd want to go check that out. I wouldn't say it's like a thing where they would go check it out on a weekly basis, maybe, once every 5-10 years, but, I'm not sure why this one would be considered politically incorrect, other than the fact that it's, run by the NRA. That's the only thing that I could see as to why someone might think it's politically incorrect. But, I could see why there would be an interest in this, and why this would, I would say it has to do with American history. It's, there's more than just, like a political sense behind it. I guess it's a way to put it. It's, there's some historical value there, and things along those lines that kind of allow for like a broader spectrum of things. But I also know other people who would be disinterested, be like, oh, guns, whatever. I could care less, So, but I wouldn't say that that's offensive, at least compared to the first two we talked about here. So the fourth one is called on this guy's list is the Criminals Hall of Fame Wax Museum in Niagara Falls. I've actually been to this. And it's actually kind of interesting. I don't know why that would be politically incorrect. It's you get to go in and see like some basically wax figures of criminals in history. I wouldn't find it to be offensive. I really, I didn't. I thought it was kind of interesting finding out about some of these criminals in history. It's not, a place you would go into. I'm not sure if I'd want to necessarily bring like a 5-year-old kid in there, but I thought it was kind of interesting. When I went in there and got to check it out. They have different likenesses of like different serial killers and stuff like that. There is some interesting, I want to say somewhat historical idea or values in there. I don't want to phrase it as values, but historical thought processes behind it as to why someone would want to go check that out. Finding out about the criminals in history, different criminals and stuff like that. Of course, I'm one of those people that will watch one of those, cop shows on TV where they're talking about. It's like a dramatic portrayal. I don't even want to phrase it dramatic. A documentary type portrayal of what happened with some different serial killer murders and people trying to catch these people. So I can see why someone would want to check it out. I can also see why some people find it offensive too, because it's you're almost putting into, I guess you're glorifying some of these really bad people in history who shouldn't be. You're putting them up on like it could be looked at as if you're putting them up on a pedestal when they shouldn't be. So I guess I can see it in that sense. So the next one on this guy's list is the Creation Museum. It's I'm just going to read word for word what it is. This is in Petersburg, Kentucky. It's not its utter mockery of modern science in favor of a strict biblical take on the universe that earns Kentucky's Creation Museum a place on our un-PC list. What makes it kind of controversial is the museum has refused entry to gay people. Oh, well, I didn't read this ahead of time. And well, I see why that's an issue. Man, you're really trying to get yourself into trouble there. You're like, so what if someone's gay, or homosexual? I know people who are, some of them are some of the nicest people I know. The way I see, if these people are willing to pay to come in and see this stuff, it's, why turn them away? I guess, why would you turn someone away just because they don't, swing the same way you do? It's, I guess I can understand that. Maybe I should have read some of the article and see why some of these were thrown out here. But yeah, I understand the idea of the Creation Museum. I know a lot of people who are, they're all about the Bible and things along those lines. It's not necessarily where I live, but if you go further, I live in central New York, but I've realized, there are a lot of Ohio is a state where I've seen a lot of Bible in Jesus advertisements. If you ever drive through Ohio, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Actually, I don't remember what the highway it was, but you see this giant cross. Actually, I think there are two of them in the state. And it's interesting. They're huge. It's like there's no way you can miss it. That's how big these things are, these giant crosses. And they're all on this, I think it's like an interstate. I think it's 90, actually. Anyone who's been through Ohio knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I actually see why people would want to go there. The fact that they apparently refuse entry to gay people. I understand that they're following their biblical beliefs on things. Their religious beliefs, I should phrase it as. But you treat unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. You be nice. You accept them in. Don't none of this. I've always been raised of love thy neighbor, and whether if they are good or bad, you should love them. You may not necessarily like them, but still, don't act so poorly, against these people, but against anyone, really, I could keep going on that, but I feel like I kind of hashed out my point. Just be nice, play nice, and other people's. Apparently, I don't know how to speak English sometimes. Be nice to people, and they should also be nice to you. I know that's not how necessarily reality works, but if we all took that attitude, maybe the world would be a better place. Some deep stuff coming from me. Yep. This guy. So, there are a bunch of other museums on here, and they're not really as interesting as those ones are. There's a museum for Hungarian meat industry. I can see that. That's in Budapest, Hungary. There's a National Border Patrol Museum, Memorial. Oh, it's a museum and memorial library. It's in El Paso, Texas. El Paso, Texas. I'm not really sure. There's a bullfighting museum in Ronda, Spain. That makes sense. They're in Spain, bullfighting, Spain. I get it. I'd go. I'd check it out. If I happen to be in Spain and I saw that, I'd actually want to see that. There's a museum of the fur trades in Nebraska. Nebraska. Maybe if I was bored, driving for a long time, and I happen to see that, I might use it as a rest stop area. There's a War Remnants Museum in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Basically, it's a museum about basically the Vietnam Wars. They call it the Exhibitionist House for U.S. and Puppet Crimes. Basically, it's from my understanding, just a brief reading of this, it looks like it's kind of anti-American stuff. There's another one that's even worse than this one in Vietnam. But hey, it's their own country. I prefer them to not be anti-American because I am an American, and it's not really fun. But whatever. I'm going to move on. I guess that's their thing. So, yeah, I guess I would have to say that is probably that's it for the episode. I really kind of rambled. I thought I was going to have to go into more topics today, and I didn't need to. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talk about some of the unpolitically correct museums in America, and about James Garner and Paul Bogart and Philip Merlot. It was fun today. As I said, I'm feeling inspired, so hopefully I'll be able. Maybe I'll get something written out and some shorts shot, so you guys can see some of my work. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page, youtube.com/theretrorev. If you're listening to this, chances are you're already there, so you might as well just subscribe. Right. Also, don't forget to check out the website, theretrorev.com. And follow me on Twitter, at Alexstronic, AlexStronach. All right. That's it for this week. Catch you guys next week.